Have you ever looked up at the night sky and wondered? Have you ever asked a question that no one wanted to answer? Have you ever known something was true even when everyone told you it was wrong? My name was Galileo Galilei. I lived 400 years ago, but my story is your story too. Because I was curious, I asked questions, I looked for truth, and the world tried to stop me. They called me dangerous, they called me a heretic, they put me in prison. Why? Because I looked through a telescope. Because I saw what was really there. Because I discovered that everything they taught was wrong. Let me tell you about the night I first looked up and how it changed everything.
It is January 8th, 1642. I am an old man now, 77 years old. I am sitting in my room. I am blind. I cannot see any more. But I can remember. I can remember everything. Every moment, every discovery, every star. Let me go back to the beginning, back to when I was a boy in Pisa, Italy. The year was 1571. I was 7 years old. One night, my father took me outside. We looked at the sky together. "What do you see?" he asked me. "Stars," I said. "So many stars." "Yes," he said. "And do you ever wonder what they are, where they are, how far away?" I looked at him. "Can we know?" I asked. "I don't know," he said. "But you can try to find out." That night changed my life, because I started to wonder, I started to question, I started to look. My father was a musician, a thinker. He taught me something important. Don't believe something just because everyone says it's true. Test it, try it, see for yourself. Authority is not truth. Truth is truth. I never forgot those words.
When I was 17, my father sent me to university to study medicine. He wanted me to be a doctor. Doctors made good money. Our family was poor. He wanted me to have a better life. But I hated medicine. I found it boring. I wanted to study mathematics, physics, the movement of things, the laws of nature. I started attending mathematics lectures in secret. I taught myself. I read books my professors didn't know I was reading. And I discovered I was good at it. Very good. My father was angry when he found out. "Medicine," he said. "You need to study medicine." "But father," I said, "mathematics is my passion. It's what I love." Love doesn't pay bills, he said. It was a difficult time. I had to choose my father's dream or my own dream. I chose my dream. I left medical school. I studied mathematics. It was hard, very hard. We had no money, but I was happy because I was following my heart. At 25, I became a professor at the University of Padua. I taught mathematics. But I didn't teach like other professors. I didn't just talk. I showed. I demonstrated. I did experiments in front of my students. Don't just believe me, I told them. Watch. See for yourself. In those days, everyone believed in Aristotle. He was an ancient Greek philosopher. He lived almost 2,000 years before me. Aristotle said, "Heavy things fall faster than light things." Everyone believed this. For 2,000 years, nobody questioned it. Nobody tested it. But I thought, is this really true? Let's test it. I did experiments. I rolled balls down ramps. I timed them with water clocks. I measured everything. And I discovered Aristotle was wrong. All things fall at the same speed. A heavy ball and a light ball. They hit the ground at exactly the same moment. The people were shocked. But Aristotle said, Aristotle was wrong, I said. And now we know, because we tested it. Some people were excited, but many people were angry. You can't say Aristotle was wrong, they shouted. He was a great philosopher. He was, I said, but he was human. Humans make mistakes, even great ones. This was my philosophy. Test everything. Question everything. See for yourself. And this philosophy would get me in terrible trouble.
I hope you're enjoying this story so far. If you are, please take a moment to like this video and leave a comment telling me what you think. It really helps me know what stories to create for you next. Let's continue. In 1609, I heard news from Holland. Someone invented a new instrument, a tube with glass lenses. When you looked through it, distant things looked close. I had never seen this instrument. Nobody had one in Italy. But I understood the principle, so I built one myself, from scratch. My first telescope was simple. It made things look 3 times bigger. But I kept improving it. Better lenses, better design, better measurements. Soon my telescope could make things look 30 times bigger. One night in January 1610, I did something nobody had ever done before. I pointed my telescope at the sky. I looked at the moon, and I saw mountains, valleys, craters. Shadows. The moon wasn't smooth and perfect like everyone believed. It was a world, a real world like Earth. I couldn't breathe. I couldn't speak. I just stared. Then I pointed my telescope at the Milky Way. Everyone thought it was a white cloud in the sky, a mist, a fog. But through my telescope I saw thousands of stars, millions of stars, stars too small to see with just your eyes. The universe was bigger than anyone imagined. I looked at Jupiter, and next to Jupiter I saw 4 small points of light. The next night, they had moved. They were orbiting Jupiter. These were moons. Jupiter had its own moons. This was important, very important, because the Catholic Church taught everything orbits the Earth. The Earth is the center of everything. But here was proof. These moons orbited Jupiter, not Earth. If Jupiter had moons, maybe Earth wasn't the center of the universe. Then I looked at Venus, and I saw something incredible. Venus had phases, like our moon, sometimes full, sometimes half, sometimes a crescent. This could only happen if Venus orbited the Sun, not the Earth. Everything I saw proved the same thing. A man named Copernicus was right. Copernicus said, "The Earth is not the center. The Sun is the center. The Earth moves around the Sun." For 70 years, the Church said this idea was forbidden, heresy, against God. But I saw the truth with my own eyes through my telescope. I wrote a book. I called it The Starry Messenger. I described everything I saw.
The book spread across Europe. I became famous. Everyone wanted to meet me. Everyone wanted to look through my telescope. The Grand Duke of Tuscany made me his chief mathematician and philosopher. I was at the top of the world, respected, honored, celebrated. But I was also in danger. The Catholic Church was watching me. The priests were reading my book, and they were not happy. "Galileo is teaching Copernicus," they said. "He is saying the earth moves. This is against the Bible. This is heresy." In 1616, the Church called me to Rome. They gave me a warning. "You cannot teach that the earth moves," they said. "You cannot write about it. You cannot speak about it. Do you understand?" What could I say? The Church was powerful. The Church could kill me. "I understand," I said. But inside, my heart was breaking, because I knew the truth. I had seen it. For 16 years I stayed quiet. I did other work, safe work. Then, in 1623, something changed. A new pope was elected, Pope Urban VIII. He was my friend. He liked me.
He was interested in science. "Can I write about Copernicus now?" I asked him. He said, "You can discuss it as a hypothesis, not as fact. You can present both sides." So I wrote another book, Dialogue Concerning the Two Chief World Systems. In the book, 3 men talk. One believes the earth is the center. One believes the sun is the center. One is neutral. I tried to be balanced, but I believed in Copernicus, and it showed in my writing. The book was published in 1632. It was a huge success. But the Pope, he was furious. "Galileo made me look like a fool," he shouted. "He put my arguments in the mouth of the stupid character." The church summoned me to Rome again, but this time it was not a warning. It was a trial.
I was 69 years old. I was sick. My body was weak. But I had to travel to Rome in winter. It took 23 days. When I arrived, they put me in a room. They asked me questions. "Did you teach that the earth moves?" I presented a discussion, I said. I showed both sides. "But you believe the earth moves." I believe the evidence." "The evidence is wrong," they said. "The Bible is right. The church is right." They threatened me. They said they would torture me. I was old. I was tired. I was afraid. On June 22, 1633, they made me kneel in front of the cardinals, in front of everyone. They made me read a statement, a lie. "I, Galileo Galilei, do not believe the earth moves. I was wrong. I am sorry. I will never teach this again." I read the words with tears in my eyes. I read them. When I stood up, "They say," I whispered, "and yet it moves." I don't know if I said this. I don't remember. But I wanted to say it, because it was true. The earth does move. Nothing could change that truth. They sentenced me to house arrest for the rest of my life. I went to my villa in Arcetri, outside Florence. I could not leave. I could not teach. I could not see friends freely. In 1634, my daughter died, Maria Celeste, my beloved daughter. She was the only person who truly understood me. I was alone, truly alone. In 1638, I became completely blind. I could no longer see the stars I loved so much. But I didn't stop working. I dictated my thoughts to students. I wrote another book, 2 New Sciences. This book explained the laws of motion, the laws of physics, the foundations of modern science. The church wouldn't publish it in Italy, so my friends smuggled it to Holland. It was published there, and it spread across Europe. I died on January 8th, 1642,
77 years old. The church did not allow a proper funeral. They buried me quietly. But my work lived on. A baby was born in England that same year. His name was Isaac Newton. He read my books. He built on my discoveries. He said he was standing on the shoulders of giants. One of those giants was me.
And that is how Galileo discovered that truth is more powerful than authority. Maybe you feel like Galileo sometimes. Maybe you have questions nobody wants to answer. Maybe you know something is true, but everyone tells you it's wrong. Maybe you're afraid to speak up, afraid to be different, afraid to stand alone. I understand. Galileo understood. But I want to tell you what happened after Galileo died. His books spread everywhere. His discoveries changed the world. In 1718, the church lifted the ban on his books. In 1737, they moved his body to a place of honor in Florence. In 1992, 350 years after his trial, the Pope apologized. The church was wrong, he said. Galileo was right. He was a man of faith and science. Truth always wins, eventually, even if it takes centuries. Today, we have spacecraft named after Galileo, satellites, systems, craters on the moon. Every scientist knows his name. Every student learns his story. Because Galileo taught us, don't just believe, question, observe, test, see for yourself. This is the scientific method, and it changed everything. When you learn English, remember Galileo. Be curious. Ask questions. Don't be afraid to make mistakes. Don't be afraid to try. Every word you learn, every story you listen to, you are following Galileo's path. The path of curiosity. The path of discovery. Thank you for being here. I'll see you in the next story.